Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, it's OT with,
I'm Kim.
and I'm Jen, Kim and Jen. She's first. For no other reason than that she's older. Anyway, today we are going to talk about picky eaters. We've had lots of requests about this topic, so we hope that it is very useful for you and that you can find some good ideas on how to help your picky eater. So we're not talking about the child that is already in therapy and getting some assistance with this. We're just talking about your child that may have some difficulty with picky eating for lots of different reasons. So we're going to give you 10 tips, and hopefully we're going to say them in order. Our first tip is don't graze. So what I'm thinking about this is a lot of times I walk into the homes and the parents have little bowls of food. It might have fruit, it might be healthy, it might have fruit, and they'll have some vegetables, and they'll have some carrots and pretzels and crackers or goldfish. However, when the kids graze, we have no idea how much they've eaten. So the parents often say to me, we get to the dinner table and he doesn't want to eat. Well, that's because we have no idea how much he's already eaten or she's already eaten. So my first tip for you is do not let them graze. Do not put food out. We don't do it for ourselves. We don't do it for our kids. Anything on that, Kim?
No, you covered it.
Number
Tip
two.
number 2 is research tells us that you have to present foods to picky eaters 20 to 25 times before they're comfortable enough with the sight of the food, the smell of the food, the texture of the food to even try that. And when I say 20, 25 times, I'm not saying you put it down there 20 times and every time you're saying, take a bite, take a bite, take a bite. You put it there 20, 25 times and you leave it there. Let them become comfortable with it. A couple considerations for that is you could use a special bowl. Some of our kids do not want the new food touching their old food. So this is one of these nice little silicone placemats that kids can't pull up off their tray and pitch. I guess they could if they tried really hard, but hopefully they won't. But you could put that separate piece of food in one of those nice little bowls right there. You can see the red food.
Oh, sorry.
That's beets. Now,
Like
that's good. When you put a new food, only put one tiny little piece because they might just determine that they could try a little bit. They're not going to try a big glob of food, but just one tiny little bite of food. Anything else on that one, Jen?
No, I think you got it.
Number 3 is modeling, and this is so important that at meal times, we want the entire family to sit down. You could be a family of 2. You could be you and your child, or you could have 2 parents there, 2 children there. You could have aunts and uncles, friends. The more the merrier. We want eating to be looked at as a fun, relaxing process. Picky eaters see it as a threat. It's a threat to their taste buds. It's a threat to how they smell things. It's a threat to their fingers. We want them to reframe that and see it as pleasant. So we want lots of family members sitting there and having a good time during meals, even if they're not eating. Just being there and enjoying themselves. You could also have the food in bowls. Give them the bowl, give them a spoon, see if they'll spoon a little bit of that food onto their plate, see if they'll spoon a little bit of that food onto your plate. It's a very social experience, and again, they're being exposed to the sights and smells and textures of the food, even if they're not eating it yet.
Yeah, so I think they're also seeing other people eat it and it's not scary. The other thing about the portion control or the scooping is that kids take smaller portions. Adults tend to portion out larger portions because they're thinking about themselves, so they just give bigger portions. But if we think about portions, a fistful of food is the normal portion size for any person. So my fist size and my 3-year-old's fist size are totally different. So I'm okay with them having one itty bitty pea on their plate and trying it. And if they don't try it, that's fine too. So I think that that's a great idea. Number 4 is playing with food. So our kids typically get food introduced at about 6 months of age. So we sit them in their high chair and they get to play with food and explore the food. And then we forget that that is so important. And a lot of families that I work with don't like their kids to be dirty, so that's another issue. But kids need to explore food. They need to know if their food is cold or hot or bumpy or hard or soft, and it prepares their mouth. So for example, if I were to blindfold you and give you a piece of broccoli that was cooked and a piece of broccoli that was raw, and you touched the broccoli, you would already know if you needed to chew a lot or a little, if it was hard, what the texture was, and your mouth would be prepared for that. So it's important that we let kids play with their foods. And that was the adorable little picture that I showed way too early. So here it is now. This is a 12-month-old at her first birthday party. And she is exploring foods. And this is exactly what we're looking for at 12 months. This is a typical 12-month-old playing with their cake. So when you get the kid who is like, nope, I don't want to touch that, then we have some concern. All right. Number 5.
Make sure your child is hungry. And this is a big one for picky eaters, because a lot of times picky eaters like to eat the crunchy foods. They really like those little fish crackers. But if they snack on those all day long, or they're snacking on those at daycare, they're not going to be hungry at mealtime. So you either want to diminish how much of snacks they get, or don't give them any at all. And the other thing that I want you to consider is some of our picky eaters will drink their food. So instead of a 2-year-old getting 2 cups of milk a day, which is all they should be getting, and 2 cups of water a day, they might be having 4 cups of milk, and they might be having 3 cups of juice, and now they've had almost double of what they're supposed to consume as far as their liquids, and they're not hungry at all. So please watch how much they're drinking. Watch how much they're drinking in the middle of the night. If they're waking up having 1 or 2 bottles in the middle of the night and they're a young child, they're not going to be hungry when they wake up in the morning. Some daycares that I go to and some other parents that I've seen while working in homes will wait and give the child their beverage after they eat their breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And I think that's a good idea for some of our kids who prefer to drink their liquids. Jen, anything on that one?
Well, other than that little plate that we showed in the beginning, because I think that helps with knowing that they're getting a variety of food. I think often we tend to feed our kid carbs because that's what they like and that's what is easy. But in reality, they need a wide variety. They need protein, they need vegetables, they need fruits, as well as the carbs. So make sure that we're giving a wide variety of foods, because those carbs fill you up and they turn into sugars, and it doesn't always work well with our bodies. So number 6 is our smells related to hunger. So this is where our society has changed, and we are doing less cooking and more fast foods, more food in the microwave, or we might run to the store and it's pre-cooked for us. We shove it in the oven, and we have less prep time, less smells in the house. So I remember when I was a young child and I would go to my grandmother's and I'd walk in the house and I would smell that meal being prepared or that pie being made, and it like gets some deep emotional responses from me. They say that baking, actually, if you want to sell a house, they say that making a pot roast is the most desirable smell. I find that hard to believe. I would think it's chocolate chip cookies, but anyway, smells evoke a lot of emotional response, and they prepare us again for eating. So cooking with your child is a great idea, which brings me to number 7, cooking with your child. Oh, that's the picture I don't have, actually. I had a picture of an adorable picture of my granddaughter, and she was baking with me, and her face was filled with chocolate, and she doesn't love getting her hands dirty. She doesn't love cracking the eggs, but she loves the end result of being able to lick the spoon. So we often do cooking activities so that we can expose her to all of that, but also so that she gets her hands messy and involved. Anything on that, Kim?
Yeah, and you can start cooking with kids as early as 18 months. I do that in therapy, and they love it. They can pour things, from a box. They'll pull grapes off the vine. They'll take the peel off of oranges. They like to stir. They really enjoy that, and you can start that very early. Number 8 is video modeling. I use videos a lot in therapy because kids like to watch themselves. So if I see my kids sitting at a table and they're having a good time, I'll sneak off with my phone and I'll take a video of them sitting there. I'll show them that during the day, just so, again, they get comfortable with the eating process and they start to reframe it as a very pleasant thing to do. There are books on eating that you can get for toddlers and read to your child. You can look up what social stories are, and you can write a book about your child coming to the table and laughing with family and sharing food and eating food. And the more it's about them and the more it's pleasant, the more that might help you decrease some of that pickiness that they're having.
I think the important thing about that is to remember that dinner time is less about food, really, and it's more about getting together, about the social time, about talking about your day, seeing the family, being together. And we go out as adults, we go out to dinner with our friends. It's just a very social time, and I don't want to put a lot of energy into worrying about whether or not they're getting what they need. Typically, we eat what we need, and if the food's in front of us, I'll speak for myself, if the food's in front of me, I'll eat it. So make sure that that is happening for you as well. So our last
Number 9.
Number 9. So I'm going ahead of myself. Number 9 is about pretend play. So kids kind of work out their fears in play. So if we have a lot of food that they can pretend, they can feed themselves, they can feed a bear, they can play with foods, it's a lot less scary. So eating a pretend blueberry, for example, is much easier than eating a real blueberry because there's no fear, it doesn't really happen. So we want to make sure that our kids are doing that as well. So I Googled, I'm going to share my screen with you. I Googled the best, the top picks for pretend play. And this is what I came up with. So I got this site, Mom Loves Best, and it came up with the top picks for 2020. And there are lots of things. You can grill, you can cut and learn, you can make pizza, you can just have regular food, you can go shopping. There's cupcakes, there's an afternoon tea party. So lots of play around food is super helpful. Kim, anything on that?
No, and in that vein, our last tip, number 10, is food presentation. Have a good time with your kids. Make food that looks like a face. You could take, there you go. Thank you, Jen. Right on cue. You can take a pancake and they can put popcorn or they can put chocolate chips on there. There's a bunny rabbit where you have lots of little different food in there. You can have blueberries for eyes, strawberries for eyes. There you have the strawberries going right there. So make it fun, because I can guarantee you when it's fun like that, they're a little bit more comfortable, they're relaxed, they're having a good time. Jen has another example right here. What's going on, Jen?
Yeah, so I have another YouTube channel, and on this one, I call it Edible Crafts. And I love to pair crafts with books because it helps with that whole visual memory piece. So we can, in this one, we're talking about the stoplight, we're talking about the different colors and what does it mean. And then we're making a snack using graham crackers and cream cheese and M&Ms, but you could choose, if you wanted to go the healthy route, you could choose peppers, red pepper, green pepper, yellow pepper. And we're getting some fine motor skills in here. She's cracking, you can look at her face, she's cracking the graham cracker. We're talking about wholes and halves. She's using all those fine motor skills to spread. She's making choices, she's finding, she's doing color matching. And you can see right there that I have the stoplight. We're talking about top, middle, bottom. So we have lots and lots of learning going on in this super simple edible craft.
Yeah, very good. And the last thing we have to say on that is, you know, if it's more than picky eating and you have a child that is less than 5% on the weight scale when you go to see the pediatrician, or your child has reflux, or if they have diarrhea, they have chronic diarrhea, chronic constipation, if you think they might have some food allergies, you know, if their nose is, you know, has a clear runny, you know, secretion to it, if they have skin rashes, if they have a rash after they eat something, please make sure that you bring it up to your pediatrician. There are occupational therapists and speech therapists that specialize in feeding. You can find them in feeding clinics, and you might need a referral to one of those. So we hope that this was helpful, and if it was, please like and subscribe, and we'd love to hear your comments below.